Today we're here with Drina. Drina, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We are here to discuss and talk about your son, Victor Aguilar. Can you tell us about him?
So, I got pregnant with Victor less than 2 months after my daughter was born. So I was pregnant back to back with Victor. July 4th, I was already due. July 4th, I was like, that's it. Let's drink some yerba buena. This baby's coming July 4th. So, but, you know, as stubborn as my baby is, he decided to come an hour after 4th of July. So he was born July 5th. So shortly after his birth, I want to say about a month and a half, two, he got really sick with RSV and a blood contaminant. And so the doctors didn't expect him to survive that. We were quarantined for about 2 months in the hospital. And the doctors told me, have your family bring a video camera and record you and your son because he's not going to make it out. And my grandparents and my mom, you know, were saying that's not true. You know, this is not his time. So, of course, you know, my family, I was born and raised Catholic. So, you know, the first thing you do is pray, you know, you pray. And, you know, I prayed to God, like, please don't take my baby. Please let me have my baby, even if it's for a little while. So, by some miracle, the doctors ran tests the last week of him being in the hospital, and the doctor came back and said, I don't know what transpired in the last couple days, but if he continues like this, you could go home in a couple days. And we're like, really? And let me tell you that this boy had spinal taps every day done. His veins were so little. He was a tiny newborn as it is, 6 pounds. His veins were so little they wouldn't hold the IVs, they'd pop out. They had to end up either getting those shots every day, 3 times a day, which are painful shots, or getting the IV either through the head or his foot, I believe. And they ended up doing it on the foot. I couldn't do the head, so they did it on the foot. And he's a fighter. That kid's a fighter. So, you know, fast forward, we had a few of those RSV episodes throughout his childhood. He was hospitalized maybe about 3 or 4 times and stuff. And the doctors always said, you know, you need to put him on inhalers and steroids and all that stuff. But I didn't, because my grandfather suffered from asthma and said, you know, if you put him on asthma medication, it'll only get worse. And so we didn't, and he went off to play football. He loved his sports. He's a Chargers fan. I'm a Raiders fan. I don't know why he switched, but he did. And I mean, he was a good kid. You know, he loved his sports, whether he wanted to play or not. You know, we're a big sports family. That's what we do, keep our kids in sports. All the kids always in sports, something, whether it's baseball, football, anything, to keep them busy. So that was Victor's life as a child growing up. You know, funny, annoying, super hyper kid. I mean, annoying. And he would not stay still. He just was a happy-go-lucky kid, always happy.
Who did he want to be when he grew up?
He wanted to be an entrepreneur. He didn't want to work for anybody. He wanted to own his own business. He wanted to be a general contractor, and he said so he could build me a home.
What was his inspiration?
If you would hear my son talk, he'd probably tell you me. Sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
And that's only because before I met my husband now. I was a single mom for many years with the 5 kids, you know, when my ex-husband got hooked on drugs really bad and I left. I realized I was a stay-at-home mom. I always wanted to be a mom. Like, that's what I knew I wanted to do, was be a mom. And then all of a sudden, all that was stripped away when he ended up in the hospital, and that's when the marriage went, you know, I had to get a divorce because I wasn't going to have that around my kids. And so growing up, I was a single mom. I figured out really quick that just a regular job wasn't going to support 5 kids. We had a 2-story house here in Paris. So I decided to, I started working in cable, and I was the first cable technician lineman in San Bernardino County at the time. So I worked my butt off, and my kids always say, you know, you were my mom and dad. And so that, he always told me, like, you make me want to work harder, because most guys don't work as hard as you did. That's what he always said. So I would say me.
How is Victor as a teenager?
Victor as a teenager? Victor is a very shy kid. He was very shy as a teenager. So Victor, he didn't go out. Like I said, he was in sports, but we homeschooled the kids once they became teenagers and stuff like that. So he was a homebody. He didn't like going out. He was just a homebody. He was always with us, and we were always on trips. It was sports or state line. That's our thing. So the kids would always go with us. And but as a teenager, he was very calm. Always liked building stuff. He made us go all the way to LA to go buy him a hoverboard when hoverboards were in. And then that night, he took it apart to see how it worked. And then he put it back together, and it still worked. So he was just a calm. I could count on one hand how many times that boy went to a party. Within 30 minutes, he was already calling me on the phone. Can you come pick me up? He was just a homebody. He was always with me. He was my little security guard. Everybody always said that. Like, he was it. Any picture you see, he's shotgun. If he's not there, he's shotgun. It didn't matter if I was going just outside to the car, I'm going with you. Like, he was my protector.
Can you tell us what happened the day of October 17, 2021?
So October 17, I probably saw my son the last time at about 1:30 in the morning. And him and my daughter were living with me at the time, his little Irish twin. And it was 1:30 and I was still up. We were just up. So it was Saturday night going into Sunday morning, 10:17. So he was playing a prank on his sister. He knew she had to get up for work at 5 in the morning. Or 4 in the morning. So he decided to, with clear big tape, he taped up her whole door so that when she woke up in the morning, you know, you're half asleep, you open the door and walk into it, right? Well, I saw him at 1:30 in the morning and he was fine. He was talking to me. He was with his girlfriend. His girlfriend looked like I thought she was drunk. I thought she had been drinking. She came to my door. I was laying down on my bed and she was asking me, you know, silly questions, you know, like, what should I call you? And I'm like, Drina. And I was just like, and you know, Victor's very overprotective of me, very. And he told her, you know, leave my mom alone. You know, if you're gonna go to the restroom, go to the restroom. Leave my mom alone. And so he comes, he's like, I love you, Mom. Good night. And I said, I love you, baby. And I just shut the door. And the next morning, I remember waking up so irritated, or just a few hours later, I guess. I remember waking up irritated. Like, I woke up at 4:30 in the morning because I heard my daughter up for work. And I didn't hear anything else, so nothing out of the ordinary. So I go back to sleep after she gets in her car to head to work. And in the morning, I just remember feeling agitated. I had my grandson with me, and I was just like, oh, I just want to go back to sleep. Like I feel like in a bad mood, like I woke up in a bad mood. And my grandson woke up probably about 9 o'clock, and he was hungry. So I was like, okay, let's go to the kitchen. So I go to the kitchen, and then I hear, it was about 9:20 in the morning, I hear my son's girlfriend just barely saying something, like something's wrong with Victor or something like that, right? And I wasn't understanding. I'm still paying attention to my grandson. And then the next thing I know, my roommate yelled, call 911, and I was like, for what? And I was just like, maybe Victor cut himself, or something's wrong with Victor is what he said, something like that. And so I run into the room, and when I walk into the room, I see my son on the bed, the way he usually falls asleep sometimes, you know, teenage kids, halfway on the bed with his feet like this, and like if he was on his phone, but his arms were down. And I knew right away, but I ran to him. And I just remember grabbing him like this, and when I felt his back, it still felt warm and sweaty. So I started slapping him. And I was like, no, like that's why I hugged him. And then I asked the girlfriend, like, what did you do? What did you guys do? And she's just staring at me, so I slapped her, like, what did you do? And I'm smacking my son. So the first thing, I didn't know what to do. I just started rubbing, you know, the sternum right here, the chest. Mind you, I've taken CPR, but all that went out the window when it's your own kid. So I just started rubbing his chest, and I heard gurgling. And then the roommate came in, and that's when they started CPR. And I walked out of the room, and I, you know, had to make the phone calls to the kids. They're working on him in the room, and cops are coming. So I'm frantically calling the kids, like, get over here. And, you know, I call my daughter, and I told her, get over here, something's wrong with Victor. And she's like, what? And I said, get here now. And she's like, Mom, what? And I said, get your ass over here now. And she hung up. I did that to all my kids, and they got there within minutes. I want to say the ambulance got there. It felt to me, once I told them, like there was a pill or something it looks like they took, because I think she might have cleaned up or something, I don't know. But they were more concerned with washing their hands. So the ambulance came. I want to say they were in the house for a good 20, 30 minutes working on him. And when they finally came, they put him in like a wrap thing or something like that to take him out. And I remember asking them, like, did you get his heartbeat back? And they said, not yet. And I was like, mind you, I'm not comprehending really. Overdose, I don't understand. I didn't get it. I wasn't understanding what was happening, because for one, my son's not a drug user. And for two, I'm just like, I'm just thinking like, well, they're gonna get him back, right? So, you know, the cop's like, you're gonna wanna follow the ambulance. And I said, well, do I have time to shower? And he looked at me. I'm not thinking he's not gonna come back. You know, he's like, you might want to just go. And I was just like, okay. So I followed the ambulance, and the kids got on the phone with their dad, you know, to tell them what happened. And I followed the ambulance to St. Mary's Hospital in Apple Valley. And when I got there, the ambulance was already there. They wouldn't let me back. And then I guess after the fact, they told me that when he got there, they were going to pronounce his time of death. And so they turned away, and when they were going to do that, they heard a little heartbeat, a little pulse. So they started working on him right away. They got him back, and they let me and his dad in. So when I went back there, this is the first time I see him since the room, and I just went up to him, and my first thought was just to tell him, like, baby, I love you, and I'm not mad. I said, I just want you to be okay. And when I said that, a little tear came out of his eye, and I just remember seeing him turn at me. He didn't have his eyes open, but he turned at me, and then he started crashing. And if you haven't seen somebody crash or what they do, it's absolutely horrific. The people were jumping on my son. They had to break his chest bone just to, it was horrible. It was horrific. People don't realize how intense. They see things on TV and just think, oh, okay, they're gonna do CPR and this and that, and it's not like that. It's not like that. From there, pretty much I spent the next 19 days, day and night, next to him, and I think for the first week and a half, I was still in denial. It took me 2 weeks to ask a doctor, like, is he on life support? When clearly he's on life support. I mean, he had a bag for every organ in his body. That pill destroyed every organ in his body. He had no chance. Now seeing it, they just kept his heart beating for me to get closure. You know, I thought he was gonna, I kept telling, I feel like a crazy woman now because I kept telling people in the hospital, they have it wrong. He's gonna be a miracle. He's gonna reach a lot of people, speak about this to be able to save lives. And I remember people's looks at me like, you know, this poor woman, but to me, I was so dead focused on saving my son that I really thought he was gonna come out of it. And finally, I think on the 15th day, I told a nurse, one of the head nurses, I told her, they wanted to send him to a rehabilitation center. And I asked one of the nurses, how can you send him to a rehabilitation center when, mind you, I hardly slept. I had to check his temperature every 10, 15 minutes. If his body temperature even got a little high, his body would just start, I don't know what was happening. They weren't seizures because his brain wasn't having seizures, but it was him reacting. His body, like, I don't know the best way to explain to people is that my son was there, but nothing else was there. Like, I can only imagine this kid, as hyper as he was, being trapped in your body, not being able to get out. And that was my biggest fear, like, not to be scared. And I would tell him every night, I would tell him every day, don't worry, baby, they have you like this, so don't be scared. Don't be scared, it's gonna be okay. And I would tell him, they have you like this so you don't hurt yourself. And the tube down his throat, it was just horrific. He would panic and blood would start coming out because he was messing up his insides. And I don't know what point one of the doctors was trying to prove, but they wanted to bring him off sedation. But when they do that, his body would just, it got to the point where if he wasn't well sedated, the second he would hear the door open, like, he would start panicking because he knew somebody was coming in. Either they were going to poke him again or do another procedure. He was feeling it. And I would tell them, even though you think he's not here, I know he feels it. If he cries when I talk to him, he's there. He just can't tell you. So the 15th day, I had all his doctors every doctor for every organ get together and give me a prognosis, because I didn't believe they could send my son to a rehabilitation center in that condition. There's no way. And I said, he won't survive the trip there. So that's when I started thinking, like, what is going on? You know, like, it still didn't hit me. Like, it didn't hit me. It just didn't hit me. Because you don't think that this kid with so much life, with all his goals that he's going for, that this could happen. Like, how can it be that my kid's not going to come home? You know, how could you tell me my baby's not coming home? And I was like, no, I'll take him in any condition. I'll take care of him. I don't care. I just wanted him home. So their prognosis, you know, they told me, like, this is as good as it's going to get. And I was like, can I take him home like this? And they just looked at me and they're like, this is as good as it's going to get. You can't take him home. So me and his dad, you know, made the decision that we had to tell the kids that we had to let him go. Besides the call after 911 to my kids, God, having to tell them that I have to let their brother go. They just couldn't understand. They're like, Mom, don't do that. Don't do that. You're going to kill him. You know, whatever they were thinking in their poor little heads, they didn't understand at the moment. But my son, Victor, was a fighter. He fought those 19 days. My mom had COVID during that time. And we've always stayed with my mom on and off. So that's my mom's baby too. And she had COVID so bad that she could not get out of bed. She lost so much weight. And I told her, I said, Mom, you're going to have to come. And we had to wheel her in. And this is a woman who never has taken an aspirin, even for a headache. I mean, pure bill of health. You know what I mean? Just hit with COVID so hard that she couldn't get out of bed. And we wheeled her in for everyone to say bye to Victor. And he just looks so peaceful. The priest said he looks so peaceful. 2 days before we had the surgery to take the trach out, the tube, and put the trach in to make him a little bit more comfortable. So, you know, you could see his face and stuff, and he just looks so handsome. And November 5th is when we let him go at 6:32. And he went so peacefully. There was no struggle. I mean, if I could tell you that is the only part that gave me peace, is knowing I was just so afraid. How do you sign papers saying let my son go? That part was the worst for me. I felt like I was gonna vomit. I was standing there going, like, shaking. Everyone in that hospital knew my son. I had about 15 nurses standing there crying when I was signing papers. And I thought because I was letting him go. And one of the nurses said, I want you to know something. We're not sad that Victor's going. She said, we're crying because a lot of people don't realize, and they leave their loved ones like this for so long, just suffering. And they said, we want you to know you're making the right decision. And I know it was, because he would have fought. He would have fought. And there was no fighting. He just went to sleep. Just take a drink of this.
Our condolences to you.
Thank you.
And your family. I know it must have been a very, very difficult situation for you all. If there was anything that you can say to Victor today, what would it
be? You know, in the 19 days I was in the hospital, I was telling my mom this the other day. I had nothing to say to my son. We were so close. We said everything. I talk to him every day and tell him how much I love him, but that's all I could say because we told each other everything. There was nothing left for me to say. We were just that close. Like I had nothing left to say. I didn't have to say sorry. I didn't have to say I wish I would have done this. No, I know I was that mom that, was strict, that, this kind of stuff will never happen to this family because of how strict we are. We kept our kids in sports. We did this, we did that. We were on them. They had chores. They didn't go out. It'll happen to anyone. It doesn't skip anyone. It doesn't skip anyone.
Now, I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the date of October 17,
Mm-hmm.
2021. You stated that you asked his girlfriend what they did. Did she ever tell you?
So she ended up telling us that, so two nights before that, the October 17, him and his girlfriend argued. And they were supposed to break up. She was supposed to leave, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what changed. And then I guess that night, she said that he went to his cousin's boyfriend's house, but I guess some other guy was staying there. And he told him if he wanted perks, right? And so he's like, Percocet? And I guess he said, yeah, they're just perks, whatever. And he's like, well, whatever. So they got him to party, whatever, experiment. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever get the truth from that, but they went and purchased the things. And if that guy didn't think anything was wrong, I don't understand why he texted my son after he sold it to him. First of all, when my son went to go get it, he said, don't come to the house, go around the corner because I don't want your cousin to see us meet each other. Shady part one. Then he sends them a text after the fact and says, be careful, bro. Why would you have to be careful? If you sold him a Percocet's just a pill, a pain pill. Why would you have to be careful, right? He only got 2, so why would he have to be careful? I don't understand. He knew, so he knew what he was doing, but Victor didn't. So that's part of the problem, is that people don't understand. They think that, oh, maybe it's just mixed with a little fentanyl or whatever. No. What these people do, they make their own pill. There may be no acetaminophen in there at all. Like, we don't know what's in there besides fentanyl. Like, what they make up that pill of, I have no clue. But we know they throw some fentanyl in there. You may get a little bit of an opioid or something like that in there once in a while, but they literally create it themselves with whatever. These are not scientists. They don't use measuring cups. They don't sit there and say, oh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. They're dirty people. They're dirty. They do this anywhere. Put it together, slap it in a pill. And so Victor went and purchased a pill. As far as I know, that was the second time he tried it. I know he had tried it once before.
Did you ever notice any strange behavior or heard that he was experimenting or maybe drinking?
Okay, so 2 days before, not 2 days before, I want to say a few days before his accident, I had been in bed for about a few days, right? I hurt my back really bad in Vegas for my daughter's birthday. And I had been in bed, and he's like, what's wrong, Mom? I said, man, my back hurts really bad. And he says, you don't have anything for your back? And I said, no. And he's like, well, do you want a Percocet? And I'm thinking in my head, what the heck did this boy get that? Because he's never even mentioned the word to me before. And mind you, of course, I do say, we tell each other everything, but of course, they're not going to say everything. You know what I mean? And so I said, sure. I said, bring it, because I wanted to see what is he talking about. So when he brought it, I said, he showed me a little blue pill, M30s is what they call them, or blues. And I said, where did you get this? And of course, he's not going to tell me. And the way he was, do you want it or not? And I said, no. And I said, and you're not taking it either. And I said, you know what this is? This is poison. And I said, because you don't know what's in these. But mind you, I didn't really know too much about it. I just knew that those were no good. And I told him, I said, they don't even make these anymore, because they don't. I believe the FDA stopped, at least over here, they don't make those anymore. So anything you get that says M30, it's a lie. It's fake 100%. Matter of fact, people should start getting in the habit of thinking anything you get off the street is fake. They're mixing it with coke, with methamphetamine. They're mixing it, if they're cooking or growing weed plants in the same area where they're mixing the fentanyl, and say just a sprinkle dust gets on there, you're dead. And it's already happened. There is already cases with weed being contaminated with fentanyl and traced back to the fact that they were both just in the same room. And it will kill you.
Was the gentleman that sold pill to Victor ever convicted?
No. No, he wasn't. When on October 17th, when everything happened, we turned over the phone to the cops, and my daughter told them everything, gave them the information, gave them the kids' information. So from what I gathered, I had some detectives come and talk to me about 2 months ago, and from what I gathered, the Apple Valley Police Department mishandled my son's case altogether. So because of that, they have to wait for someone else to die for them to do something to this kid. That's how it works. They don't care. That's what they told me. They have to wait for someone else to die for them to get this. And I said, do you understand what you're saying? You're telling me another family has to go through this? Like, it doesn't just affect the person that dies. I lost everything. My home, my cars, my son, everything, which nothing means shit. I would rather live in a hole and just have my baby back. I would rather have nothing, but it's a domino effect. It's a domino effect. I have never handled funerals. Personally, I've never been in the front row other than a grandparent or something like that, but when you're in the front row, it's different when it's your child. It's different. This messed me up to the core, from my health to everything. Everything fell apart. Like, you're gonna do this to another family? You're gonna wait till they do this to another child? These people are giving it to, who gives a 15-year-old a pill? Why? These parents, all these stories, it's horrific. It's horrific. It's so unnecessary. These kids, you're supposed to learn from your mistakes, not die from them. Like, I get so angry sometimes when I see addicts continuously doing it, and they're still alive. And my son wasn't that way. Why him? Not that others' lives don't matter, but it just makes me angry. It makes me more mad. Because he wasn't like that, and he hated that, and because he decided to try it, he dies? Like, that's not right.
So, Victor is a dad.
Victor's girlfriend found out she was pregnant the day of his accident. After his accident, she found out. He didn't get to know that he was going to be a dad. But yeah, his baby was born June 6th.
Does he look a lot like Victor?
He looks like his daddy. He looks like his dad. I look at him, and I know a lot of people say, at least she has a piece of him, but It's not like that. In this world, you need your dad. This boy's gonna grow up without his dad. It doesn't matter how much we tell him how much he would have loved him or been a good dad. I'm not a substitute for his dad. He's not a substitute for his dad. My other son's not a substitute. He'll never have his dad. It's not fair. It's not fair. It is a blessing and it's beautiful, but it's sad. It's sad.
Is there a message that you would like to give to other families going through a similar situation or potential situation?
First of all, if you see something, don't be afraid to speak to your kids or to look through their shit. Don't be afraid, because you know what? I'd rather my kids be mad at me for snooping and digging through their shit than having to bear a child. Don't ever be afraid to confront your kids about stuff. If you see something, we feel when something's off or whatever. If you feel it, say something. I wish I had been more informed about this. I feel like if it was out there more, he would have known and he wouldn't have done that. You know, he was working in the union. He made more money than most men working at the same job for 30 years. You know, he had his own car. He had everything going for him. There was no reason, you know, for any of this to happen. But you just experiment once. It's just, don't be afraid to speak to your kids. Don't be afraid to snoop on your kids. I mean, that's what you have to do, and talk to your kids. Like, it's more important for adults to understand what this is and exactly, because I think a lot of people have a misconception about what it is, and they're thinking that these kids are going out and buying fentanyl and, you know, dying from it, but that's not how it is. They're being poisoned, you know, and there's a debate, you know, how could you say he's poisoned if he took the pill? Okay, it's just like if you go buy a chocolate candy bar and they give you a taffy bar, right? You're not getting what you paid for, right? So it's being deceitful, and you're getting something, and just say that taffy made you sick, it looked like chocolate, whatever, right? It looked like chocolate, but it ended up being taffy, and you're allergic to taffy, right? So you end up dying from it. Okay, well, that's poisoning, because they gave you something. You didn't go and buy taffy, you went and bought chocolate. Right? Whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And that's the thing, like, I don't care for people saying, well, they should have known, or, well, don't do drugs. Well, guess what? That's not the way life is, okay? Even the best of the best sometimes mess up, and you shouldn't die from mistakes. You just shouldn't. This is not about right or wrong. It's the fact that people are being poisoned and no one's doing anything about it. In 2021, more people died from fentanyl poisoning than they did of COVID, but nobody's saying anything about it. Why? I don't know, because why are you putting public announcements about monkeypox and this and that and COVID? But this has killed more people than anything else. Why? Why isn't there, you know, warnings everywhere? People, I see kids on TikTok making keychains with Narcan. Like, that's what it is? Like, you have to carry Narcan to save someone's life in case you're happen to see someone accidentally overdosing? Like, that's disgusting. How are we supposed to raise kids? How am I going to raise a grandkid in this world without his dad?
Well, Drina, is there a message you would like to give to those kids or young adults that are using?
You know, it's not even just kids anymore. Every day, we have a huge, I'm not going to say huge, but unfortunately, a group of moms that all have come together. We're here locally, you know, some in Ontario, Pomona, Victorville, Hesperia, but we all found each other, unfortunately, because of this, you know. And if anything can come out of this, understand that this is fake. Like, don't believe when people tell you, oh yeah, it's my grandpa's prescription, don't worry. No, people lie because they want money, because they don't care if you drop dead, because they'll just get another sucker. They don't care. They don't care about dead bodies. Matter of fact, there is, I believe, on YouTube, there is a documentary where a girl went undercover with the cartel, and they were talking about the fentanyl, and she said, but do you understand that people are dying from you doing this? And he said, oh yeah, that's why the demand is up. That's why we have to make more faster. How disgusting is that? That's the world we live in. So my message to everybody would be, if you're getting stuff that isn't prescribed to you, it's probably going to kill you. It will kill you. One of these days, it's going to kill you. It will kill you. Consider everything poison. It's all poison. They put Drina in it, rat poison, bleach, whatever they have to do to make up their little concoction of stuff. Whatever was in the pill Victor took destroyed his insides. Destroyed. The doctors told me they never seen something so bad. And I didn't understand, like, how could that happen over a pill? Like, I didn't get it. Well, it's that powerful. It's that powerful.
Well, Drina, thank you for being here once again. Our condolences to you.
Thank you.
As a parent, I feel that I learned a lot from you, and I'm sure our viewers will too.
Thank you. And I really appreciate you guys for giving us the platform to be able to speak about it, because I really feel like if more people hear, about it, I know we're never going to stop the drug game. Like, it's just never going to stop, right? Like, I know that. I'm not sitting here saying, like, I'm going to do this till I stop drugs, because that just would be stupid of me, because it's not going to happen. But if I could save some lives, like, if these kids could just listen, if you're doing it, I know it's hard, I know it hurts, and it sucks, because these kids have to go, so many kids reach out to me all the time that they're going through withdrawals from these stupid pills that they don't even know what they're withdrawing from. You know what I mean? Like, they're so sick, they're like, I'm scared, I'm sick. And I said, but if you take another pill, you don't know if you're gonna wake up. They're like, it hurts. I know it hurts. Get help, reach out. My Instagram is open for anybody to message me if they need help. I have plenty of resources for people. Parents going through this or scared, reach out to us. There's plenty of us moms out there that, are trying to get the word out, are trying to, educate people on fentanyl, and just trying to get awareness out there. We know we're not going to stop people from experimenting or doing drugs or doing whatever, but at least we could educate you, because then at least you're educated, and then you make your own choice. If you decide to still do it, then, at least have your parents prepared to bury you, because this sucks. This sucks really bad. It hurts. It destroys families. It destroys lives. I'm never going to see my baby. I'm never going to hear him say, I love you, or Mom, pick me up. I'm never going to have my child because of one mistake. Like, I wish kids and even adults, like, don't do this to your parents. It's not worth it. Losing your life is not worth it. It's permanent. Your parents will never get you back. Nothing will ever be the same. Our lives are forever destroyed. So, at the end of this, I hope you guys share our social media and stuff like that, so that people can reach out. And if they need help, if they need to get help for somebody, anything, whatever, we're there. There's always someone there. Don't be afraid to reach out. If, just reach out. That's all I could say. And educate yourself. And just consider the streets poisoned. They're literally just poisoning people. That's it. Everything's poison.